Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to last panel of the day at MICA's ICMC. Today we have a panel on the theme of the conference, Innovations and Disruptions in Marketing, Developed versus Emerging Economies. We have three industry panelists today, and I'd like to introduce them. Our first panelist is Mr. Piyush Tiwari, founder and CEO of BTG Venture and Delta 360. Piyush is a solution specialist with over a decade of experience in marketing and technology. As a founder and CEO of Bridging the Gap Venture, he has been instrumental in developing solutions as a software platform that addresses key challenges in the marketing ecosystems, focusing on skill enhancement, analytical reporting, and performance-based marketing. Prior to this, he has worked for groups like Publicis, IPG, Percent Across, APAC, and his commitment to innovation is further exemplified through a decision intelligence platform with his recent organizations that empowers businesses to make informed, intelligent, and instant decisions. By integrating advanced AI-driven tools at his recent organization, iDelta 360, he transforms data into actionable insights, enabling organizations to navigate complex decision-making processes with confidence. It was great to have you, Mr. Piyush Tiwari, here on this panel. Next we have Mr. Surja Kishore. Mr. Surja believes creativity is the life force that expands our universe, and that's what he's also a faculty at MICA as an adjunct. He's passionate about nurturing creative energy to scale brands and business. He loves to work with like-hearted people who value doing good for people and planet as good business. Surja loves juggling logic and magic. It is evident in his journey, first as a copywriter, then as a strategic brand planner, followed by leading businesses and clients. Prior to BBDO, Surja has worked with Ericsson, Publicis, Lorentas, India. He has worked on some iconic campaigns like Ariel, #Share the Load for PNG, #What an Idea for Idea Telecom, #Jagore for Tata Tea, and it's between you for WhatsApp. Having worked with Unilever, Visa, MICA, PNG, Nestle, Godrej, Tata, and the list goes on and on. To name a few, he has over the years built an enviable reputation in the Indian advertising and marketing industry. He has been a part of the jury for prestigious advertising and marketing awards such as the MRSI Golden Key Awards 2021, the Women Disruptors Awards, the Lisbon Ad Awards, the Drums Digital Industries Awards, and a list goes on and again. Surja Kishore is the founder of CCC, postgraduate program in crafting creative communications at our very own institute, MICA, and considers this one has his first baby and his daughter has the second. Amazing, Mr. Surja Kishore. A long distance runner, Surja finds running meditational, and he finds clarity while running that he shares it with the world on Instagram with his handle. He believes food is edible philosophy and that we are gifted a brand new life every day. The last panel on this panel discussion is Mr. Dilip Krishnan, who also graciously did a keynote speaker for our conference today. I'll just shortly introduce him as I've already introduced, but to the audience is new. He is known for leveraging cutting-edge technologies to revolutionize marketing practices. Mr. Krishnan is experienced global business leader, venture builder, turnaround specialist, and an accomplished digital innovation corporate strategy professional who has co-created award-winning digital products alongside customers-led large-scale business transformation efforts, resulting in several digital usages, cost saves, created new revenue models, established region-wide partnerships, pivoting to growth in areas of digital acquisition, engagement, payment across multiple geographies, and the list goes on and on. So now on this panel, we have a moderator, our own BGP chair, and our own faculty at MICA, Professor Suresh Malodia, to take this ahead. I invite you all on stage.
interesting topic and an august panel. My job is relatively easy because I have to ask them questions. So today we will talk about innovations, essentially, disruptive innovations in the context of developing versus emerging, developed versus emerging markets. 2 decades back, when we used to talk about innovations, the innovations were, flowing from the developed markets to the developing markets, and the theory was the resource-based view because they had resources, so they could innovate. And whatever innovations that were taking place in emerging markets, they used to call them as frugal innovations, like Gandhian innovations or jugaad, and not really considering them as innovations. But gradually, a decade back, we had a concept of reverse innovation, where the world accepted that yes, emerging markets can innovate, and the reason was that while developed markets were innovating and sending their products back to the emerging markets, they were looking at the similarities between 2 markets and then making those innovations affordable, available, and accessible. What they forgot was to look at the differences in the 2 markets. And today, we are leading the innovations. There are numerous examples, whether it is financial, fintech, digital payments. It's really, really amazing to see the way we have democratized the digital payments. Be it healthcare, be it any sector, today the world has accepted that emerging markets can actually innovate and give their innovations back to the developed world. So this is the context of today's talk, and I would invite the panel members to start with sharing their own experiences and their own views in what are some of the most significant innovations that they have seen in their own sector, and how those innovations have kind of disrupted both the developed markets and the emerging markets.
Thank you first for just inviting a really good panel. I would like to listen more to their views as well. Like to mention that innovation is very much something which is very much contextual to the market itself, right? So when we talk about emerging market, developed market, right now it's the way I look at it, it is not that same innovation across 2 markets, but it's more about how these 2 markets define innovation for themselves, and then how they approach it. For example, fast commerce, quick commerce. That is something which is defining the commerce in a market like India right now. That is a major innovation we see happening, which is changing the way that the whole purchase cycle used to go, the recalls and the proximity to, let's say, demand and supply chain efficiencies. That is one. At the same time, I see a very different kind of innovation happening in the spaces like Southeast Asia, let's say Indonesia, Malaysia. Instead of quick commerce, what we see there is a social commerce, their own model of quick commerce. What we used to see at 12 in the night on the television, that okay, the stock is here, we talk about it, in 5 minutes it's out if you don't call up to that number. Same thing is getting virtualized in that world, and people are ordering things which are getting delivered in 6 to 8 hours, not 10 minutes. But that's a quick commerce of their own way, which is fitting that market. Vis-a-vis, when you look at the larger markets, let's say if I call economy as a parameter of developed markets, you look at markets like Europe and many more, where innovation is happening, but in a more backdoor way, because of many GDPR compliances and all, right? So the way media is being consumed there, the kind of platforms you're targeting around, right? So those things vary very much to that market. So I believe that innovation is something which is very much happening, and like you said, it has accelerated a lot in the last 22 decades because of a major resource we own, which is volume of data. So the resource which earlier used to be the research labs is converting into a more of a on-ground data which is getting accumulated. So I believe India has a really like a strong line of innovation coming our way, thanks to what's happened in the last 2 years, which is rise of generative AI. So I'm going to talk more about it a bit later, but would love to know more from you.
Yeah, he was rightly mentioning resource rich is one reason why developed countries are, but I've seen both sides of the pillar, which is I started off with developing countries, moved to the developed countries, seen that portion. The one thing that actually drives innovation is imagination. If you're rich in imagination, which I think in emerging economies, rightly said, we're not bound by anything. in developed countries, there are 2-3 things, right? One is there are boxes where I need to be stable because I have something which I've already created upon, right? I need to work on. But imagination, of course, it's not anybody, one person's thing, it's there for everyone. So which is why emerging economies possibly picks it up and runs in a much faster pace. That's what I'm looking at. But having said that, that with this, I wouldn't say a competition, but the right approach for us is to take this innovation to the next step by closely looking at each other and also sharing the things. For example, you mentioned on payments and fintech, and I come from the background. So we've been now coding these payment technologies across the different countries, developed countries, and all those things, right? Which now gives us a little bit of an uplift in terms of cross-border commerce also, which helps in a lot of improvement in our GDP and whatnot, right? So that's another angle that we need to look at.
If you allow me to have 2 sharings before I get into my point of view or my experiences on the topic. First is, it's just so wonderful to come to this auditorium. There are not many institutes left where we come to a place like this. It's a shrine. It's not an auditorium. So I'm just so amazed. And I would request, as I'm including myself part of the tribe, that let's keep all our shoes outside, whether on stage or off stage, and that experience will be profound. So that's one sharing. The second sharing is, I don't know at what time, I think it was in boarding school, I had become very close to my maths teacher, and he said if you add a name, A to your name, it will be very lucky. I just found it very disruptive. I said, it's pretty interesting, my name is Suraj, but now it will become Surja. But I did not know that when I stay in Ahmedabad, when I was teaching here and when I was teaching here, all the letters came Surja Ben. You know? So for a long time, I kept receiving it. And whenever I applied for any job in Gujarat, I would get a call and they would wait for a lady to come and very disappointed to see me coming for the interview. So those 2 sharing apart. I don't think I'm an expert on the topic at all. I don't think I can give you some very clear opinion, but I can tell you that there is no developed market and no developing market in my view. There are developed people or developing people. So that's first perspective. Because when you change your perspective from market to consumer, it will change the way you look at what innovation means, what motivation means, what aspiration means, what ambition means, right? All of you, most of you are students, am I right? Yeah. You know what it means to stretch your penny? You know what it means to get that coupon free for that gym if you are not in that city and you don't own the membership? That's innovation. It comes from a motivation of the consumer. It doesn't come from the aspiration of the marketer. I do feel that when I look at the world, the same people behave differently. And we do that, right? When we go to the developed nation, we suddenly behave like we are developed creatures. We behave, we don't punch other people while walking, we don't spit, we start demanding better. We know the difference between avocado and potato suddenly. But when you're back home, you're okay to kind of say, okay, iska bhujia bana lete hain, and this one could be just for the potato chips. How does it work? So that's my first point on this entire topic. Topic should be the market development and how market development actually has to do with more consumer. Let me give you examples of it, right? COVID was a weird time, we all been. Do you remember those tutorials how to wash hands? That was not new to us. In fact, most Indian households in childhood have been told, "Haath dho lo, wash your hand." It was a done practice, whether you washed it or not, it doesn't matter, but we are quite symbolic in our rituals, right? You might not have washed it, but every day, school, hostel, parents would tell you, wash your hand. Now, that's a developing market cultural issue over there, right? Culture takes off a lot of development in marketing. When you look at West, the tutorial hand washing was quite innovative. They have never looked at washing hand because they never needed to. Lot many cultures don't eat with their hands. Don't actually use their hand while cooking. In that market, their ability to look at market of cooking utensils itself is very different, right? So that's the second point, which is culture comes into play when you look at innovations, and it has to do with how we reshape our idea of consumption. You know, what is hygiene to us is actually luxury to some people, and what is luxury to them, we don't even know yet. We are still talking about hygiene in this country as far as soaps and cleansing is concerned. In certain other countries, we are talking about enhancement. We are talking about, can soap give me vitamins? We can't think of. We are still trying to struggle with drinking water. While the world has moved on, but can I get vitamins? Can I get energy? Can I get enhanced water? So to me, that's the third point which I see.
So I mean, really, quite diverse views, and I would say the punchline for the today's session would be like innovation comes from motivation of consumer, not from the aspiration of marketeer. Moving forward, I would want to know your views on like how collaboration is leading to new innovations in these emerging markets, and how it is helping emerging markets to overcome the resource constraints.
So I'll just take an example of, let's say, India in this case. India is a classic market where you can find hundreds of examples. Pretty recently, I was getting, I'll explore a bit about the challenges which this market face, right? And I realized that education is the primary one. So we have a larger talk on that tomorrow, but I'll touch base that. So right now, when we look at certain tier 2 markets, I'll focus upon MP for that matter, or even Rajasthan, where we see that yes, there are challenges, but the way collaboration is happening is definitely at a departmental level, which is happening with the digitalization of things, so obviously it moved a lot faster. But the kind of the role which private entities are playing in this, I consider startups as a private entity as well, because these are the people who have the capabilities, and then they put it into a context of a government, right? So that sort of collaboration is evolving. Secondly, we see a really good, I'll say, collaborations coming across geographies in India. Thanks to social media, because people are realizing the potential of collaboration, be the best form of collaboration is music, I believe. So you see really good people coming in together. So that collaboration is increasing, and what it is leading to from a music field where it is a evolution of the music form, what you are seeing vis-a-vis into marketing or governance, when you see that how private entities are playing the part. Imagine the role which companies like TCS and Infosys has played in the seamless passport issuer, the world before and now. And that is something which many developed countries struggle with even today. So that's the innovation I see happening currently. But what I'm pretty much hopeful to see in next 3 years or 5 years is how the collaboration with this newfound power of AI works in our favor. So humans collaborating, using the tools, and a third collaborator with its own point of view, which is not that biased. It is biased, but not that biased as much as an independent human is, right? So that collaboration is going to define the pace and a pace of innovation and the kind of innovation it will come out. I'm not expecting a new LLM to come out of this market, but definitely with a market with 500 plus languages, unofficially 2000 plus. If we are able to train an AI on that diversity of data, imagine the kind of sequencing it can give you, right? So yes, I think collaboration is evolving by every passing decade with some policy support, and also a big support from all these developing nations where we are facing this immigration issues. So I'm hoping that, let's see what happens on 20th. After that, we are going to see a new wave of innovation happening here, or innovation going there. So something will be happening on that front as well.
I think this new word collab has become a very fashionable thing, right? Like everywhere the collab is being talked about. What we need to understand, and I often wonder, where did this collaboration come from? Because there has to be so much of silos in terms of fulfilling consumer needs. And you often wonder, despite so many people trying to get you healthy, why we are so unhealthy? You know? And that's because of late we are asking these questions. We are not interested in going to 10 windows to solve the same problem. In fact, lack of that collaboration is allowing us to remain in the same place where our needs are not served. And if you take healthcare, for instance, to explain my example, two things have happened, right? One is technology, certainly. Collaboration existed, right? I don't know how many from small town, the nearby Kirana store, the mom and pop store also used to book tickets. much before Amazon started doing everything. So, as a human behavior and human desire to collaborate has been high, but marketeers have been insiders. When consumers started demanding, saying, I want an end solution, I don't want piecemeal solution. One person is giving me bad food to eat, which I buy. The other person is giving me healthy food to eat. Third person is actually doing healthcare technology scanning of what's wrong with me. What consumers started demanding is, I want an ecosystem benefit. And that ecosystem drove marketeers to participate. And it stopped being about the particular need, it started being about human need. Human need is of mobility. It's not about car, it's not about train, it's not about rickshaw, it's not about road. Now anyone who is in the arena of mobility must collaborate. It is not a responsibility of just one silo. So that's number one. And you can take this example at every place, right? Education. Who's responsible? Is the education responsibility of just the institute, or also the coaching institutes, people outside, books and stores, skill training institutes? As parents, we said we want our children to go to a place where they get whole solution, the holistic solution. So that's driving collaboration a lot. Third important thing, it brings down cost actually. And it creates a very loyal customer base. And that demonstration people are extremely finding that in various reasons, right? And because of cost savings, like again I said, there has to be a marketing logic to why collaboration is thriving today. They are being able to save cost and they are being able to give superior benefits to the customer. And I see this going forward to level which you never thought of. For instance, let me give you, without naming the company, it's the largest FMCG company in India thinking of doing away with their distribution model, which was unthinkable. Just to even entertain the thought looks scary. The FMCG companies survive because of distributors. They are questioning, saying, why can't I collaborate with Blinkit and Swiggy and do away with the entire intermediary, pass on that benefit to the customer, and probably share that between Blinkit and us, right? Very doable. Think about it. So I think increasingly this collaboration will get intensified and will be the beneficiary, and we should keep demanding more from these marketeers. Otherwise, they won't do it.
Just to add to this thought, right, of course, very well pointed on the ecosystem play, which is exactly the shift which is happening on the platform, right? So when collaboration means it's not between two entities specifically, but motivated by a customer demand or a customer ask, and it could be between a technology and cultural relevance also, in that sense, right, to get into that ecosystem play. So this is an interesting thought that he's having around Swiggy doing these things for distribution play, right? The same thing is happening in other industries, financial services as well, right? So I come from that financial services as well. So that's another disruption, because I expect me not just to give financial service product, but I expect you to go beyond financial services. So which is where right now we've launched our own marketplaces for travel marketplace, you can name it like car rental marketplaces, everything within a banking app. And why would you do that? Because you want people to come on board. You might not be good at it, but are you in the right position to offer it, give a taste of that for the customers to start working on it? Answer is yes. So we did this long back when I used to be associated with HDFC Bank. I'll give you a context there, right? Like 15 years back, when cards was a new thing for customers, right? Citibank was #1 in the market in India, and in e-commerce. In CNB, in e-commerce they were #1, and HDFC Bank had the largest base, but customers weren't using it actively online. So we were trying to figure out why is this a problem, right? So they were everybody is using it offline. Then we figured out it's important for us to give a taste of how this online thing works, because we are known for trust. Back to the point of consumer motivation, right? HDFC Bank is known for trust. So now if I'm trustworthy, if I can create my own marketplace where I let the customer come, buy, get a taste of it without getting scammed, right? So now the trust builds. So what now they've done is they've taken that to the next level of making sure the customer is happy, motivated, and now I'll let you out in the open, right? And then you go out. And why is it important, this collaboration? Again, it's not something that I need to approach you. This is something that I need to figure out from my own consumer behavior over a period of time. So these are real examples, right, which has happened. And collaboration, like I said, you cannot survive without collaboration. You have to collaborate. That's one part, which is why APIs are a big thing in the market, right, technology-wise. AI with API is another bigger one. So like I said, you have data, a lot of data, which is all good. But unless and until you have a way to marry the data, understand that much better, provided along with the consumer motivation lens, then you're nowhere. Yep.
So, I mean, building on this, we now understand from all the experts that consumer expectations and behavior influence the choices of innovation. And with now most of the consumers in India being mobile first or mobile only consumers, ecosystem based business models is the way to go forward, and that's where we see that we are seeing these super apps or ecosystem based business models. But to create an ecosystem based business model, what are the key pillars that are essential so that our ecosystem will survive? Go the other way.
So going for the first one, we have no clue about it actually, because I've never created an ecosystem. But again, I mean, to me, my go-to for any of the innovation is always about how does it benefit the customer, how does it create value. And that's a basic fundamental of economics, right? Across my collaboration, if I'm not adding value to the customer, maybe I'm adding cost, or I'm adding losses to me, to my business already. And it's very simple to look at it, and I see this happening across in various developed markets. There's a recent example of Renault car, the car brand, right? And they were struggling because they're realizing that they want to, most automobile brands are trying to get into the EV space, and they want to get it early on. The problem is the ecosystem is missing, Even the customer is asking themselves that I would love to buy the EV car, which Tata's have launched or X has launched, but I'm not sure whether I can drive from Sheila to Baroda, and if I will find again, if I can drive there, can I recharge it there, right? Now it's an ecosystem problem. The collaboration will depend on how customer is looking at this and how fast government can support it. Because when you talk about ecosystem, the state comes into play, the regulations comes into play, policies come into play. Look at the simple broken ecosystem of healthcare system. The insurance guys don't talk to the hospital guys don't talk to the government. There is like a regulatory authority, but policies don't talk to each other, right? So to me, what is going to be most important is value creation. It's the most important essential ingredient to look at. Collaborate to what extent? Second important ingredient to look at it is, can you keep mounting upgradation to it? Because if ecosystem doesn't allow for further addition, in a metaphor sense, can it remain the API? Where new partners can come in, because when the customer tastes success or benefits, they keep asking for more. And to keep them going, it's a rat program. You've got to keep feeding that customer funnel, otherwise it'll become obsolete. And third important thing is that while you do that, can you keep being different agency? Because I do feel that it's difficult today to define your business as a particular definite business. Like, you could say yesterday I was in financial business, I'm in healthcare business. I think in people's business. And as long as you focus on that, that last ingredient will keep you alive in a better successful place.
So I think you gave a really good start to what I can build upon. I'll just take a simple example of a product which we have in the market right now. The question in front of us was that people have a decision latency. They are not able to make decisions fast enough because they have either the data availability latency or observability latency, that something happens and you don't get to go into that. Then the next element of that was analysis latency, that not everyone is a great analyst, and eventually action latency, that how fast can you take the action, right? So I'm just trying to share my experience so that how the ecosystem came across the different things, right? So there was 4 challenges. We came up with a solution to each challenge based on a single stack so that the whole stack talks to each other. So how the system comes alive right now, that when you start with the system, you have a module where you can go and talk to your data. Now there's no data latency, you just talk to the data. My top 5 cities by online sales in last quarter 1 or last week. You don't need to go through teams, tools and different sources. So that's one. Then you go and build an extension to it, like you said. What is happening with my business? That's your observability latency. That, okay, what are my goals? Am I hitting those goals? Or if I'm missing them, which goal or sub-goal am I missing? My priorities change very fast, so I should be able to have a very flexible system to opt out or opt in into different goals. Moving on to now you understand what is happening with your KPIs or goals, so now you want to understand why it is happening. So you go into classical visualization powered by ML, where machine is trained to read the data for you. any trend, anybody contribution, different things are there. And then you can go to that and simply ask why the increase or decrease happened in the KPI. It will go back, do a multivariate correlation analysis and give you the answer to that. So you have an analysis of why it's happened. Now it's about how do you move forward in the cycle. So comes the prescription and forecasting, like mixed modeling and all. So you basically create a whole ecosystem of things where each pillar answers to a specific problem and each pillar talks to each other so that it understands what's happening before you. Leading to what you said very well, that client is something, or and especially in the developed markets, they are like really demanding, they want even more. So then they wanted some external data also to be connected and seeing my social listening versus my organic performance of brand. Some correlation which a human will never go because two different teams are sitting in two different places. And then going all the way further for FMCG clients or auto clients coming all the way for location intelligence. That okay, show me the per capita income layer versus my sales layer in city, so that I can map it down, right? So I'll say that our ecosystem will finish because customer demand will keep increasing, and you need to be on top of it. So when we started, it was a deep learning era. The ML and neural network used to be talked about. In last 2 years, it has moved to a generative AI era, right? We are very much in the agentic AI era now, as we speak about it. So you see that ecosystem will keep evolving around the central problem, and as you keep solving the problem, you will find the depth of other problems and start solving that. And classical case is Microsoft, someone we are very proud to be partnered with for last 2 years. They have taken such a good steps in their investments and acquisition that a startup like us who were leveraging on that only got better, not got worse. So that's how I believe the ecosystem works. I'm a beneficiary of it and I'm trying to create one as well, right? So yeah, that's about a real world case of this.
Yeah, most things covered right now. How many of you feel TikTok is an ecosystem? Raise your hands.
It was a trigger.
It's a trigger.
It
of
was
course.
a trigger.
It's a good point, right?
Trigger of an ecosystem.
That's the idea. Despite of me losing all other features, can you have a primary motivation to keep you stuck, right? So that's the first pillar, I think so, right? And then comes the infrastructure on top of it. All right, again, another question, Zepto, how many of you guys feel it is an ecosystem or heading towards an ecosystem?
Again, a trigger.
Can you explain that a little bit?
So, whenever there is something, so whenever like he already addressed, so whenever a brand is trying to come through a latent demand, so some demand which already existed in a very dormant way, and they present a product, so they're trying to trigger a start of a new ecosystem. Uber did this, Zepto did this, TikTok did this. So they are trying to address something that is somewhere submissively present in the consumer, and they do not know that they need this.
Exactly. So that's the basic pillar, right? So which is what we're talking about. That helps in building the infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So that helps in building the infrastructure on top of it, right? That to me the most important pillar is this. Even if you were to kill all the bells and whistles around that primary business that it is in, and if it can still survive that cult following and everything for that matter, where it stands for something, and that is an ecosystem which can be found, which is exactly what we're seeing, right? With a lot of the things right now, it might not be very good at doing that. Maybe Zepto might not be a good healthcare provider at later point in time, but people will try. People will try and test it out, right? At some point in time or something or that sort. So those are the ideas around why ecosystems are important, why platform shift is important, platform revolution is important. Again, back to his point on value economics, right? At the end of the day, everything is value economics. So I come from MasterCard. We made a living out of putting a clip on a dollar, right? That's how we've made a living, and we've been there forever. MasterCards and Visas of the world. If I don't have that clip on the dollar for every single transaction, I don't exist. I don't exist. My ecosystem doesn't exist anymore, right? That value economics will be very, very important. I touched about this a little early today morning. Value creation, value retention, and value enhancement. If an ecosystem can provide any of these three, they can still stick around for a longer period of time. Yeah.
So very interesting perspectives on the pillars of the ecosystem business model. I mean, we talked about lots of things, and like quick commerce is unimaginable in the like and all. And the way India has shown the world that how the ecosystem business models are run, starting from trade to Zepto and all. What are some of the future trends that one should watch out for, and how that also disrupt marketing function?
So few trends that you asked me coming. First thing first, I'll again go back to the buzzword of the time, AI. It's here. We are going to see some new companies coming out of that, but it's more about how current companies integrate that. So it's more about how Zepto changes the UI UX of buying a product when Perplexity is doing that in US. So adoption of a technology which is practically changing the way we interact with the machine, how that gets integrated into all the services, not just Zepto, even Uber booking. Would you like to see Perplexity coming and booking your Uber all the way to your ordering New York grocery, or would you like to still do that Uber because of some benefit around it, right? So I think it's a big question that how long will it take for this wave to settle down, but it is something that how we will adapt to this wave is going to be important. Second thing, which is very important, that how the technology stack will come out of this whole phase, right? One big shift which I believe are going to happen in next again 2 to 3 years at max is whether the fight is going to be between Amazon, Google, and Facebook, and let's say Microsoft, or is it going to be between 4-6 large LLM and the apps built based on that, integrating with the APIs of some other. So is it like a multi-agentic system going to take over, or a single agent system going to take over? Are people going to leverage agentic AI using Salesforce Sales Agent, Microsoft Copilot agents, or are they going to build their own Blue AI? So I'll say that the kind of someone said very recently, we live in a hyper-moves law phase, right? Where things are shifting not every 7 years but every 7 days, practically new model. So it's a little hard to say that how effectively this will get impacted, but what I'm very interested to see that how these leading innovators in the current times who already have a good market share, who have an engaged customer base, who have a captive audience willing to try out new things with them, how they integrate this piece, or is there anyone else still waiting in the shadows to come out and change that the way that field used to happen, right? So I'll say, yeah, this is my primary lookout for next 3 years, that how the UI UX changes and the way we change and how the company adapt to it.
I wish I knew the future, I wouldn't be sitting here. So I don't know how to answer this question at all. There are many people who can do that. I keep listening to them. How many of you feel uncertain about future? Just raise your hand. Just simply uncertain. I'm not asking for what, right? Hands down. Thank you. I'm with you. I'm totally uncertain. I'm insecure. I'm panicking for a simple reason that I don't understand any of this. And I also don't know who is doing it. And I'm not sure it's Meta, it's Amazon. I don't know. I work with this client, but I don't know whether they are doing it. And I don't know how much good or bad is coming out of it. Yeah. And just a few days ago, maybe last year sometime, I was in this room talking about AI and what it means to be human in the world of AI, metaphorically. I can give you some data points which I see. More insecure we get, more enhanced survival instinct we'll have. It's a human way of coping with things, you know. So yes, there'll be wonder, there'll be joy, there'll be all kind of excitement about adopting, trying, tinkering with new technologies, but intensity of insecurity will drive us as human beings to demand better. Let me give you a few data points which I think is going in the direction, right? You remember the COVID times when you're all trying to do some video calling with the doctors? It has gone down. There's mushrooming of health tech which happened during COVID. And since I've been part of some of those clients and other things during that time, they are all in really bad shape as far as business is concerned. The way they saw that every year after COVID, this will go up has not gone up. People are looking for empathy, not just expertise. That's healthcare for you. Yeah? How many of you are irritated with customer care right now? There you are. All the technology which you are talking about is not solving customer problems. We have to go to Twitter. It's almost like doing dharna or protest, right? Every time a customer goes on Twitter, he's not trying to use technology. He's trying to go on the road. Twitter is a road. Instagram is a road where you go to and almost challenge the person, saying, hey, what the hell is going on? So, increasingly, if I take customer point of view of technology and the future, I think customers are going to ask for more control. They are going to ask for more regulations. They are going to part with their data after being paid or after being commiserated by some compensation of kinds. These are going to be the trends which are going to go, and maybe because I don't understand anything, I'm coming from insecurity, right? All for good. We'll still use technology, but you'll have younger generation. Gen Alpha is not posting as much as we used to. There will be a complete difference which will happen. There will recycling way of looking at technology will happen, but we'll become a better society is my hope.
Yeah, he's right. So uncertainty is the way forward. But just one thing that we all need to observe is, what I've seen is, what will change in the next 5 to 10 years? Despite that, what will not change? That's something that I've always focused on, right? So one fundamental principle that I keep telling my set of employees and students and whatnot is, can you be a better problem solver? Solves most of your problems, right? So you have to have that methodical thinking of problem solving and storytelling. So these are two main things that I feel is very, very important in an ever-evolving, ever-changing trend. So I wanted to just quote what Sam Altman told when he was here in India long back, right? Intelligence is a property of matter, which is, we've now figured it out, right? It's a property of matter, it's not just for us, it's for everybody. So in that case, what will not change? Earlier today, I was telling, don't worry about AI at all. Because, don't worry about AI because there are a lot of things that will evolve. But as human beings, we still have an edge on top of what it is going to be, right? So that's what I keep telling them. Again, not to tell that AI is the only trend that we need to be worried about. The trend that we need to keep consistent and work upon ourselves is these things, right? Problem solving, making sure that you enhance your ability to storytell, etc. And consumer emotions. It's going to be extremely important for all of us going forward. Yeah. I wanted also to touch a little bit about ecosystem and how can it relate to this one, right? So one advantage that I personally benefited out of is ecosystems always helps you hold to a higher standard because there's a partner. You need to make them happy every single time, right? It increases your standard, it pushes your boundaries. You cannot relax. You cannot relax in an ecosystem. He's like he said, he will take you to Twitter, he will drag you down and say, I worked with this guy and he sucks, right? So he's gonna shout and scream. So he will always hold you to the highest standard, which is why ecosystems becomes extremely important going forward. As a trend, what I feel is it's a check and balance. You can be extremely smart, but when you work with a partner, you need to become a partner of choice. To become a partner of choice, you need to start working on yourself, right? So those are the things that I feel, those first principles of sorts, which we need to hold extremely good, strong to keep the trends ongoing.
I just add to this because since I raised the idea of how many feel uncertain, I didn't do any better. I just made you feel more uncertain. And I feel that what my fellow colleague is telling about this entire thing, there are going to be things you will not control. And there are going to be things which you can control. In any economy, in any business, in any era. In the things you can control, ask for yourself, what value do you create? And as long as you do that, you don't have to worry about it. And that's the way I deal with it, right? Whenever, not only technology, but other way around, whenever you have a known element, go to the known element you know, what value can you create? And if to create that value, you need to give up your past, give up your past. Like I've been making this case a lot for, that MICA should give certificate which expires after certain years. You have to come back and do a top up for that certificate to be valid in the market. This is going to happen. Because you are going to either do it yourself or MICA does it, and they can take a lifetime fee for you, right? You don't have to go to some other institute to find out how do I upskill myself. Now those are things very visible that if I want to create value, I need to do those things, right? But so focus on what you can control, what you can create.
Explain
so in such a simple manner and such a lucid manner. True, like uncertainty is the incubator of innovations, and value is the guiding principle. So you have to create value. And as in marketing, we say that every value is perceived value, and the perception of value changes and evolves. So marketers will have to, keep a tab on how the perception of value is changing, and then innovate around that. Thank you, panel members from my side, and I now open the floor for questions to the audience. So audience can ask questions directed to any of the panel members or the entire panel.
The audience is saying they don't know anything about the future. What do we ask?
My question is for Professor Suraj. Do you like being called Suraj or Surja?
I like being called Suraj if I like you. Otherwise, don't call me.
Do you like me?
I love it.
Okay, then I will keep calling you Suraj. So, okay, you are talking about value. What is valuable for us or not for us is culturally determined. It comes out of the social value or cultural value. Correct? So, in a way, the value creation that technology is doing is dependent on the cultural context, and they are intertwined. So, the technology and cultural context or value creation for the customer through innovation cannot be a cultural literature or cannot be de-linked with the culture. That is the point which I want to seek your opinion.
It's very interesting because over a period of time, having worked on different categories, I have seen where culture plays a very, very dominant force and where culture goes silent. And I'll give you two examples from the brands we work on. We handle Mercedes, and we handle the entire suite of Mercedes communication and brand across 40 countries. And we don't see culture playing a dominant role. There is a universal human motivation to have a sense of arrival, sense of pride, sense of achievement? Yes. And that primal selves, which is what self-actualization is all about, where culture doesn't really intervene, it's a very human need. But when you look at food, I see culture being so dominant, despite everybody trying everything. It's a very, very legit fact on data points that with so many health products being manufactured, the adoption and market share of health food is still dismal. And the best consumer research you can do is that the corner shop, mom and pop shop, selling all the samosa and farsans and farcha, right? So, and I always say, I give this example. I used to work with MICA on something, and I say that when it comes to food, taste is the main course. Health is the aftertaste. But when you go to other cultures, health is the main course, right? So in various categories which has to do with hygiene, category which has to do with reproduction, categories which has to do with marriage, right? The way we sell gold here versus the way gold is sold somewhere else. So I do see that the basic way of looking at it is this, right? And this was given by, you will know, there used to be this Professor Pradeep Chakravarti over here, and he was a great conversationalist, and we spent a lot of time because there were 4 dogs and 4 faculty in MICA and nobody else. So if 3 did not come, if 3 people did not come, then you don't know who to talk to. So you were, and it was a village. It was a large village till next 15 kilometers. You used to make sure you don't go alone. It was so bad. So in one of the conversations, he said in his first PhD lecture, his professor in Illinois asked him, saying, "Does anybody know what's the difference between nature and culture?" Right? And again, his story. But I like that story and like the point here. Nature, when coconut is on a tree, it's nature. When you break it, it's become culture. Whenever you intervene with nature, it becomes culture. Right? So all the categories and all the product and solutions which are little more in the primal space, little more in the natural space, where it's very natural for us to like to be complimented, very natural for us to have children, very natural for us to be around with families. Those categories will always prosper irrespective of culture. because that makes us human. Sorry. But when it comes to what makes a woman, what makes a man, what makes a successful human being in certain ways, cultural constructs do play a role.
I will, let me challenge your notion, because what you are saying, there are certain cultural and certain cultural products categories. And you have given the example.
Sorry, first of all, I am very afraid of challenges. But the point, no, sorry, it's not for a joke. The point I'm saying is, the human motivation is never absolute. It's a spectrum, right?
I know that this is getting intense, but I have to stop it here because we are running out of time. So maybe one last conversation.
Okay, this is fun. Okay, so sorry, but take your example of Mercedes.
Yeah.
And you said that you have worked in the 40 countries. You take it in the jungle of Americans and give it to a private person. So what sense of achievement? So you see that is also culture.
Sure.
You are saying you are excluding certain cultures which are not industrialized. So if you see industrialized culture, I will agree with you. But then you have to exclude certain cultures.
First of all, I'll agree because I won't challenge. And the second of all, see, the way to look at it is that now we are talking about the idea of a brand. The idea of a brand is shared consciousness. If the shared consciousness doesn't exist, that brand doesn't exist. It's as simple as that. It has nothing to do with culture. It has to do with memory system. It has to do with symbolism of that brand in that country or in that market.
I still do not agree with you. But
I agree with you.
So shared consciousness is correct.
But Surya, I agree.
I will agree. I will agree. I understand that.
Last question.
So when technology and social media is thrown too much on consumers, we tend to walk away. So what my question is, when so much of it is thrown along with AI, yes, we start embracing it, but what's your prediction on how much of it will be too much for the consumer? And an example right now is, I used to have an Apple Watch and I got sick of looking at those really obnoxious rectangular things, and I said, I'm done with the Apple Watch. So I got a normal watch. But then I'm used to tracking activities, so I got the Aura Ring. So I was like, okay, what I'm understanding now is the ring doesn't give me adequate things. And it's like my pet dog. I have to keep feeding my metrics into it. And because I said, hey, it's not taking up. They said, no, you need to tell what it's doing. So I said, okay, I'm walking today. Then it said, okay, how are you feeling? Tired, sad, happy? Did you take melatonin? How much did you sleep? It keeps telling me, right now I like it. And it's getting tamed. But I fear that in 1 month, all of this AI will get to me and I'll say, to heck with you, I don't want you. So my point is, when so much of AI will be thrown at the consumer, at what point will the consumer start walking away from it, and at what point will it be too much? And how does it affect the industry? And this can translate to other industries also.
See, I think how much is too much depends very much on the individual perspective, right? I'm in the industry, but I'm not too much of a social person. So it doesn't matter how much bombardment or tech adoption is happening, I might not be doing it that much and trying to keep it intact. But as a solution person, I would like to take that as a problem. But yes, it will happen to quite a few people eventually at different stages. And if I'm there trying to solve that problem, maybe I do see a solution with AI itself. Instead of consuming the whole content on your own, maybe I would like to build an agent which curates the feed of content towards you and gives you something which it knows is relevant to you, right? So I think it's more about like when you are taking the example of how AI is not threatening or uncertain, I feel that no one knows what it will shape up into, right? It may shape up into a beautiful companion all the way to a giant, like imagine a tiger. You can't kill a tiger, right? But you can have 4 wild dogs and still kill the tiger. So those 4 wild dogs are AI is working with you. So it's I consider it's a, I hope, no consciousness entity but an entity which is going to be part and parcel, and it is part and parcel of our today's right. So eventually when the time comes, it will again become a tool into our arsenal to solve the problems with. So I think that's my take on that, and yes, it is already becoming too much. You see the attention spans of the ads dropping down from 18 seconds just few years back to 2.5 seconds now. So we will also have much smaller number. You throw the content, we don't need to make.
I mean, I just have one probably point which I had talked about, right? How much food is good enough? How much love is good enough? How much AI is good enough? I know that from again experience with younger audience in India, I hear that around 2 or 3 o'clock in the night they throw away their phones. They literally throw away their phones because they've been on phone so long and still being lonely. And then they go to confidants. Maybe on phone or whatever, they go to confidants. So the point is, we will decide as human beings to ourselves when the technology in any form starts destructing our lives, even while it is giving pleasure, then you realize you are in a toxic relationship. I'll say, I want to stop it. I want to get out of it, which is what happened to you. Saying, what is happening? The second thing, there is a whole article which I read which was very interesting, and it kind of proves the trend. Health technology will go to a place where everybody will be born unhealthy, right? Because everybody will be deducted with something. It's a part of life, right? If you put anybody through scan today, all of us have problems. All of us in the room, if you do your CT scan, you will be unhealthy from today. You will be worried. You will be insecure, right? So that's again, which is, does health technology is actually going to keep us more panicked and unhealthy? Those are questions and things which we will decide for ourselves.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful discussion. Thank you, Surya, Dilip, and Piyush for being here. Now I request Professor Shubhra Gaur to please share a token of appreciation to our panel member, Surya Kishore. I request Anita ma'am to please come forward and extend a token of appreciation to Dilip Krishnan. Rajneesh sir, please come forward and share a token of appreciation to our panel member Piyush Tiwari. I request the document scholar Nikhil to please felicitate and give an honor to Suresh sir for accepting this invitation to the organization. Thank you everyone. Please enjoy the live music tonight that we have at dinner, and also some poster presentations in the MICA area we have, and debates can go on Rajneesh sir.